Go ahead. What's your name, darling?
Minar El-Rahman. I'm actually a social media manager too. So what would you say about Houzz? I know you were talking about Pinterest,
Yeah.
but Houzz is very construction and building material specific.
Yep.
And I actually think that if I were to pick, well, I mean, I would probably do both.
Yeah.
But what would you think about Houzz and sponsored posts there? Because they look very organic.
When you say Houzz?
Houzz, Houzz.com. They
Oh,
just went through their
got it.
second round of funding.
Got it. You know, I haven't dug deep into them, you know, and so I can't speak to it. But I think the point, since I don't know much about Houzz, that you made is the important one, which is, you know that whole little rant I just ended with the 25% of dumb shit, and you said I'll probably do both? I can't wrap my head around it being the middle of 2014 and people not allocating 3 to 7% of their monies and times into trying Instagram, Houzz, Facebook. It doesn't make sense.
Experimental budget, right?
You're better off figuring out it doesn't work for you because then it eliminates your time of thinking about it versus just deciding, I don't get it, we're not gonna do it. Yeah.
All right, and then my other question is with the Facebook dark posts, are you talking about sponsored posts?
No, so sponsored post, where she's going, for all of you know, is you post something on your fan page, and then you see that little thing on the right side that says sponsored if you play with Facebook a little bit, and then it allows you to open up and you can target friends of the page, friends of the page, or create, I'm not. There's a page editor on the back end of Facebook, and it looks more like Google AdWords. You go in there, you create your content, and then you target whatever the hell you want. Has nothing to do with your page. You want to target recent college grads that are, like if you're in the rental space, and we're killing it in the rental space right now, because we're just targeting people that are graduating college in June, right now, and have shown online behavior to searching around New York, so we know they're coming to move to New York, and we're just putting out an ad that says rent here, they're actually looking there, and we're converting at a ludicrous conversion rate. Things that SEO and SEM and all this other stuff we've done for years isn't even coming close to, because attention. They're actually looking in their phone and in their feed. They're actually seeing it. Not like your ad in Where magazine on page 97. Listen, that's how I believe. Like, I'm not trying to make fun of Where. Print, what? You're gonna go to page 9? That newspaper right there, what? That person that spent $15,000 on page A8. You guys are gonna see that? Maybe, but you're paying 8 times that print. The way we pay for print is we pay 8 times the circulation of a newspaper in case all 8 of them get to page 32, bottom left corner, and see our Lexus ad. It's ludicrous, it's fantasy world, it's 2000, it's 1994, it's 1986, it's fucking 2014. Sorry. Yes, sir.
Gary, I was really impressed with you 2 years ago. I went out and bought your book.
Thank you.
I'm having a little hard time wrapping myself around something you said today.
Please.
And the example worked for you.
Yes.
But there are many of us who really need to reach high-level decision makers.
I agree, which is why
Not necessarily the CEOs of the top 25 Fortune 100 companies.
Yep.
But in our industry,
please,
we need to reach the right person.
give me an example of a right person. By the way, this is why I do Q&A, because I can sit up here and say, this is great. This is like, this right here, this moment is about to be the best fucking part of this whole talk. So give me the right person.
The five treasurers or marketing directors of the 5 top solar installers in whatever market you're in.
Love it. So, real quick, let's jump into this. I guarantee of those 5 people, 4 of them have a LinkedIn account. I guarantee it, right?
Correct.
Good. And you know the name of these companies, and you know their titles, you just gave them to me. So, LinkedIn right now, and probably released to everybody in the next 6 months, 2 things you can do. Right in 6 months, you'll be able to go to LinkedIn and do the same thing that you can do on Facebook dark post on LinkedIn. So you'll be able to create a piece of content. Now you have to decide if that's a picture, if that's an infographic, if it's a white paper, if it's a nice picture of you, you've got to decide. But you'll be able to create a post that those 5 people will see when they log into LinkedIn in their feed. And I'm in that beta and I'm testing it and it's working incredible. And we're targeting CFOs, controllers, these kind of people. The thing you can do right now is take those people's names, and do the version that I did with Twitter and Facebook and targeting them in that world. So that's the tactical execution of reaching that person.
The part that I'm having a hard time grasping
Please.
is I just don't believe that they are on social media as their children are.
Listen.
I don't trust that. LinkedIn, yes, I trust.
Okay.
So I'm hungry for what's going to
Yep.
be around the corner.
Yep.
But I don't trust that a CEO that totally different example. I want to reach the president and chairman of Wells Fargo.
Okay.
I cannot believe this is a man who's looking at LinkedIn. I don't believe this is a man who's spending his time on social media.
Listen, two things. One, great. Believe what you want to believe. Two, you may be 100% correct. Three, I'm thrilled with the thesis of these executions may not work for your target audience. Right. I'm not sure how you plan on targeting the Wells Fargo CEO versus social media. I'm sure there's some theory you have, right? Mm-hmm. You know, buy an ad in the Wall Street Journal because you think he's reading it. That's not going to work, right? So here's what I can tell you, and this is the real kicker of this story. One, I get it. I get what your thesis is. I hear it every day, 900 times a day. Let me tell you about something we did recently that completely will blow your mind. We had a client who said the same thing. We're trying to reach, it's a hedge fund play. Think about what kind of net worth individuals you need. Mm-hmm. And the guy says to me, Gary, I think you're the best. You clearly helped the business that you're working on that I invested in. This is why we're sitting together. I got to him because we're crushing it for one of his businesses. He goes, but you can't figure this out, right? Because these 80-year-old guys, 60-year-old guys, they're not on this. I go, okay, if you believe that. We did the LinkedIn thing in real time. He was blown away by how many of them were on Facebook and Twitter. Here's my real question. These 5 people, have you put their name in with Twitter and Facebook into Google to see if they are or aren't? I'm curious.
No, I just gave that to you as an example.
Got it. So one, you should do that.
Okay.
Because you might get surprised. But even if they're not, here's the tactic we took, and we've converted our first person. You said the most important thing, my friend. You said, I don't believe they are, but their children are, right? Mm-hmm. We've just converted our first $10 million check to this fund by knowing who the individual was and by making content for his children that we thought they would show to him. We made a piece of content.
That was worth the price of admission. You can stop right there.
And I'll give you another example. We just started working with a retirement home, and we're targeting, 50 to 70-year-olds who are putting their parents into the home. Everybody doesn't think 50 to 70-year-olds. The fastest growing sector in Facebook is 50 to 70-year-olds. And they're sticky, right? Once they're there, they're there. And they're like, for anybody here who's in that range or has a parent in that range, you know that once your parent gets into that world, they're just bothering the shit out of you. This Facebook thing's incredible. Been telling you, Mom. All right, last question. I see him at 00.
Gary, I'm getting ready to go have breakfast with an executive for Twitter. He'll be writing you an endorsement check later.
That's cool.
This industry is one where approximately 85% are searching for their new home online. Everyone heard that statistic. Only 40%, according to Burrell, of developers and home builders even spend their money online.
Yeah, no, I know.
So,
I saw that.
Okay, and then there's another percentage, 1% of expected sales should be spent on marketing.
Yep.
So there's a $1.4 trillion home industry.
Yeah.
I mean, there's $1.4 trillion of new homes sold every year.
Look,
1%
man,
of that, $14 billion. No one in
look,
here
bro,
think, yeah.
I'm so pissed off about this data because I've looked at it.
Yeah, it's
that if you fuckers don't move soon, I'm coming into this business and putting you out of business.
So here's what you're our disruptor, which makes your methodology great. But these guys are trying to do it themselves.
Yeah.
Okay, and the challenge with these engineering, construction, finance minds, because I deal with all of them, and I was an ex-banker, now technologist.
Yeah.
Is what's the metric? So we used to measure cost per lead.
Yeah.
Cost per lead, Trulia, Zillow, New Home Source, cost per lead. Well, with our CRM, we track BBAC. So we don't just see where the buyer sourced from, what their lead source was, cost per lead, but what's their BBAC? Where do they come back to your content?
Of course,
not just right.
That's how marketing works.
Right. So Smart Touch is about the 52 touch points it takes over 290 days to reel in a buyer.
Okay.
But we can't convince this industry to hire vendors to do it for them because they're not measuring the ROI. They're having a hard time saying, okay, if I invest in your digital media agency, your social agency, they'll hire vendors to do their sheetrock and their foundations and project. I mean, there are developers that I know that have no staff. They're one guy, a finance team, and they're all their vendors. Yet they're still trying to hire one person in-house to do it themselves. And I think it's because they can't get their head around the metrics. How do I get an ROI out of social media? Can you talk about that for a second?
The only two pieces of advice I have for you are this. One, the biggest way I've been able to win the ROI conversation is by auditing the ROI of everything else they do, right? So they've made the mental commitment to running an ad in the local newspaper or the local magazine or outdoor media or calling or direct mail or whatever, and then I just ask them, what's the ROI? And the truth is, you know, nobody's got good CRMs. They don't know. They've just accepted it. They've made the decision that this has an ROI because we've been doing it for 80 years. That's number one. Number two, I'll be very honest with you, and this is now for you and your business because I noticed how you set it up. I have spent 0 minutes, 0 seconds, 0 hours, 0 days, weeks, months, years trying to convince somebody to use me or my company. There is enough people that are at least somewhat interested. The notion that I'm gonna convince somebody or spend my time and effort in 2014 to make them convince to use this stuff and do this stuff, I have no time for that person. 0. Spend all your time being on the offense, not the defense. The defense is meeting somebody who's a big get and they don't get it, they don't care. I mean, I met with Albertsons, had a real long conversation. Their CEO could care less and I don't give a fuck, right? Because I just move on to the next. There is no follow-up. There is no knock again in 2 weeks. There's no hit me up in 6 months. I just look at that dude and go, good. When Amazon puts you out of fucking business, I'm gonna laugh in your fucking face. I'll leave with that. Thank you. Thank you.